Hey guys, it's Ryan for the Tank Engine Society. Welcome to Block 2 of our film festival. We have a lot of great content from a lot of great users lined up, so let's get started.
Recently, a new removal company had started work on Thomas's branch line. They were in charge of moving pianos to other places around the island. The Fat Controller had put signs in place so that when an engine comes near to where they pick up new pianos, they were not allowed to whistle. Percy and Toby understood this. However, Thomas didn't. I think it's silly. I shouldn't have to be quiet for someone who isn't doing as much work as I am. And anyways, what if I need to whistle in an emergency? Thomas, we all know that there's rarely an accident on that part of the line. And they're just doing their jobs, Thomas. Just like we are. Plus, if the Fat Controller's told us not to do it, we don't do it. Puh, you're both just being pathetic. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to take my next train. And Thomas puffed away. What's up with him? I'm not too sure, Percy, but he'll learn soon enough. Later that day, Thomas was pulling Annie and Clarabelle along his branch line. When he rounded the bend, he saw the removal van. This gave Thomas a cheeky idea. Thomas blew his whistle loudly. His whistle shocked the workers. They jolted the van backwards, causing the piano inside to land onto the tracks. Thomas saw the piano on the line and applied his brakes. He stopped just in time. The manager was very cross. "What on earth were you doing? Those signs are there for a reason. I shall have to report this to the VAT controller." Thomas just looked at his buffers. He felt very embarrassed. That night, the VAT controller spoke sternly to Thomas. "You should have paid attention to those signs. I put them there so that this sort of thing wouldn't happen." "I'm sorry, sir. It won't happen again. I promise." "Good. I hope you've learnt that actions have consequences. As for your punishment, you will stay in the shed until I can trust you again." "Yes, sir." And the VAT controller walked away, leaving Thomas with much to think about.
Coming through!
Colin!
Yes.
Summer had come to the island, and with it, more tourists, more business, and the baking sun. The engines had to take long breaks for drinks of water. At the day's end, all the engines would be worn out. I get no rest. Oh, hush, Duncan. We all feel like our boilers are fit to burst. I feel like my petrol tank is going to blow as well. We should all get rest tonight, because tomorrow we'll have to do it all again. With that, Scarlet went to sleep. Duncan, Sir Handel, and Rusty followed. Peter Sam thought to himself, Everyone else is straining with summer heat. Next morning, the engines were getting ready for the day's work, and Duncan began complaining again. Ugh, I have the first train. Why can't any of you have it? I can take it. The other engines were shocked, but Duncan didn't turn down his offer. Okay then. Peter Sam took Duncan's train. It didn't take long for the summer heat to make an impact, however. When the train run was finished, he had to take a long drink. While Peter Sam was having his drink, Carloe pulled up with another train. He looked worn out as well. Hey, Peter Sam. Carloe, are you okay? Oh no. A drink and I'll be alright. Peter Sam stopped filling up on water. No. The return train will be in about 5 minutes. That's more than enough time for me to rest. I'm taking a return train anyway. You just rest up here and return to the sheds when you're ready. Scarloy reluctantly agreed. His coaches were shunted to the back of Peter Sam, and Peter Sam was off. The heat continued to beam down on him, but Peter Sam pressed on. He made it to the last station and backed into the shed. Sir Handel noticed how strange he was. You need to stop taking all these cover trains. I'm fine. Just then, a workman walked up to the sheds. We have a coal delivery that needs to be taken to the wharf. I'll take it. What? No. I haven't taken a train all day. Let me take it. Huh, that's a first. Peter Sam, I'm serious. You need to rest here. I'll be fine. And Peter Sam pulled out of the sheds. On the way to the wharf, the heat had once again begun to make an impact. Peter Sam ignored it. However, with a lack of rest, the heat hit hard on Peter Sam. More and more steam started coming out. Eventually, the boiler cracked. The driver immediately stopped Peter Sam. We can't go any further, or you'll blow up, Peter Sam. Peter Sam sat there in silence. His driver found a telephone to call for help. Soon enough, Sir Handel came to the rescue. Well, he said. What did I tell you? Sir Handel brought the train to the wharf and took Peter Sam home.
Peter Sam promised himself to never take a covered train unless it was really important.
You know what bubbles my boiler? Every once in a while, I end up in China, Australia, Italy, India, or Brazil. What's the deal with that? So TopMat says it's for global goals, whatever that means. I just worked on Sodor, starting out with shunting in the yard, and before long, I became a branch line engine who sometimes pulled various jobs. Nowadays, I've chased after a large ship on the rails, jumped over a ravine as well with a bridge, and then sometimes I just randomly have these dreams that are so unnatural. For some reason, I even said my firebox was on fire. Like, what on soda was I thinking? Oh, and don't get me started with getting trapped on a random island that had a underground water tunnel. It annoys me with how much things have changed for decades now. Everything just isn't magical anymore. The magic is gone. This was once a magical island where dreams come true. Now it's just a wacky place where my friends work. He understands about the loss of magic. Wait a minute! That magical railroad wave thing caused all of this to happen! My goodness! What else is going to happen to me? Damn!
On the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, we shall never surrender, and if, which I do not for a moment believe, this island or a large part of it was subjugated and starving, then our empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, carry on the struggle.
Hello? Oh, it's you. What is it now? Alright then. When is it? Uh-huh. Okay. Got it.
Daddy, why won't you let me play with her?
Who's going to take the express today? Henry took it yesterday, but I heard Emily was needed at the docks.
I don't know. Maybe Henry again. No, but he's busy with a goods train.
It doesn't help that 2 of our main express trains are out. You know, maybe Hat will ask the Duke and Duchess for their engine to pull the express.
Yeah, maybe he will.
Is that? Gordon, you're back. It's good to see you. Same to you, little Thomas. Now I must not dilly-dally. I have an express train to pull. Real quickly, is James alright? I haven't been able to see him. James will be alright. Physically he's fine, but he's seeing a psychiatrist every other week. He'll be out of the works in a couple days, but pass the word not to pester him too much. Be supportive instead of cheeky. Fine words, Mr. Gordon. Thanks, Toad. Best be off. When is he supposed to arrive? Any minute now. Why couldn't they just send it through the railway? National security. With everything that's going on right now, they don't want to risk it. Why wasn't I notified then? I got Donald leaving with the slow goods later tonight, and I'd like to be able to have him return home. Don't worry, he's been taken care of. Ah, hello. What is your name? Well, I never really had one. I was the 10th engine in my fleet, so they always referred to me as Diesel 10. Alright then, Diesel 10. The man in the top hat is my good friend Sir Topham Hatt and his son Richard, who you'll report to if we're not around.
Hello.
Hello, Diesel 10. I hope you're a hard worker. I need engines like that on my railway. What is that claw on top of your cab? On my old railway, I was used to pick up loose branches, but I primarily worked in our little quarry, filling up trucks with rocks and taking them to the main station, the only trains I pulled. Well, I guess it's good we're stationing you at the quarry. Diesel will show you where to go. Come on, let's go.
Engines. We can do it together. Right. Together. What are you saying? I'm saying you're done. I should have known better than to recruit someone like you. What's that supposed to mean? It means I shouldn't have wasted my time with a filthy pirate. While Sodor and its residents were still recovering from the events of P.T. Boomer and Sailor John's attack on the island, the engines were still hard at work with the Earl's project. However, one certain engine was still a bit on the edge. Paxton, is something wrong? Well, it's just, I keep thinking about Sailor John. Oh, and what about him? I'm a little on the fence, because I'm worried that he's planning something, but at the same time, he said the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and that could mean he's on our side, but I just don't know, and it has me worried to no end. Didn't you tell us that you left him off at some old shed in the forest? Well, yes, but I don't even know if he's still there. Well, then we have to look for him. If we capture him, we can figure out his true intentions. I suppose, but we'll need someone else's help, and I think I know just who. Oh, hello, Bear, Paxton. It's good to see you two. It's good to see you too, Edward, but Paxton and I need your help. Whatever for? Remember last month when I said I took Sailor John away to some shed out in an abandoned rail line? Oh, yes, I do. I take it you're concerned with what that nefarious pirate may be up to? Well, yes, actually. But, on the other hand, he could possibly be on our side here. But we need a third opinion if we want to be sure. Oh, well, I hate to break it to you two, but the Earl has assigned me a special train to take up to the estate. I mustn't dilly-dally with those kinds of problems right now. Besides, it's been a full month, and there's been no noted activity of him causing any sort of trouble. If you two wish to pursue him, then go ahead. Trust me, I'd love to help, but I can't right now. Well, that's fine. We understand the urgency of the Earl's new building project. We'll leave you be. Oh dear, there's something else I've realized. What is it, Paxton? I'm still on trial here. If Sir Topham Hatt finds out I'm trying to pursue Sailor John, he may not see it through, and it could jeopardize my chances of staying here. I really don't want to go back to the other railway, especially if those diesels are still there. Don't worry, Paxton. If that happens, I'll be there to stick up for you. Thanks, Bear. Now, let's go catch that sailor. Filthy pirate indeed. Yeah! If it weren't for that pyromaniac, I could have had my revenge. We could have ruled the island as one. But does it even matter? Every moment in my life I have just been a pirate. Perhaps I need to reevaluate myself. And quickly, those Sodor engines are no doubt searching for me. So, what do I do? You said it was down the left, correct? Yes, that's where the shed is located.
You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into.
Oh, that does it!
Get away, get away!
Oh, hello, Emily.
The sooner this job is finished, the better.
Yay! Go, Emily!
That's strange. I remember a certain rail car giving all her extra jobs to a certain purple tank engine.
Shut up!
It was Halloween on the island of Sodor. All the engines were settling in for a relaxing night of ghost stories, horror movies, and Twilight Zone episodes. And all across the railway, there's a nice Halloween atmosphere in the air. First, let's see what the smaller engines are up to.
Matt, you gotta listen to me. You guys hear me?
You're not listening. You're not listening.
Wrong.
You never listen. You never just... I'm telling you, Mac, Titanic is a horror movie. It's horrifically long, boring, and it's a romantic movie. What could be more horrifying than that? Well, if Titanic is a horror movie, then so is Monsters, Inc. Oh, while they're arguing, will you tell us the story of the old iron bridge, Renee's? If you do, I'll ram a line of slate trucks into you. Again. Still scared of that one, are ya, Duncan? That was 23 years ago, and you people still aren't over it? Boo. You got him with that one again? Ay, Duncan. And thus I saved the village from the tyranny of the meatball cult. That was the worst ghost story I've ever heard. Oh, well, it was better than Rex's anyway. At least mine bothered to make the occasional ounce of sense, Mike.
Guys, stop.
I was better than Rex's. The controller will hear us, you know. Guys, I'm saying y'all. Get us in trouble. I can say y'all now. And then the gnomes, they started. Percy, no one cares. Anyways, look what I brought. A projector, some movies, and a white tarp. Let's watch something. Let's see here, we have Manos, Hands of Fate. Manos? James, we told you to get good movies. Where'd you get these? The Dump? Hey, we've said these were free to take, and they would have gone to the recycling center anyways, if I hadn't taken them. Thomas, I have great news for you. The Bluebell Railway, they just called, and they said they've tracked down one of your brothers and they're gonna start preserving. Hooray! Oh, Edward, did you hear the good news? Yes, Thomas, I'm very happy for you. Did they track down any of mine? Oh, Edward, I'm sorry. That thought struck Edward deep. He started thinking about his brothers when suddenly... Oh, Edward, I need you to take a van full of scrap to the scrapyard. Okay, you can do this, Edward. You just need to... Oh no. Diesels! I have to hide. Believe me, that story gets better when I tell it. You're the man, boss. You really said that to him? No, fool, I'm not kidding you here. I would not lie to you. So this guy says, he might not look very handsome, but that's the best looking brake van I've ever seen. Oh, man, that's a good one. Boss. You know, it's Halloween. The atmosphere is just right. We should scrap something. Yeah, I was just thinking that. Well, you boys are in luck. One of our scrappers managed to buy a whole tender off of someone. I swear, I don't know what... It was all too much for Edward to handle. Say, can you hear something? No! Hey, stop! Oh, no one! No! Help!
The engines on the Farquhar branch line were overworked, so the fan controller sent to James to help them. When he arrived, he could see that the harbor was in a huge mess. Cargo lay on the quay and the trucks were unorganized. Soon, he started shunting and arranging trucks up and down the harbor yard. He found it relaxing to be in the sea air and hear the sound of the gulls, and enjoy the calm atmosphere of the day. He had just finished the day's work and went to a siding to rest when a foreman came up to him. Thomas needs help. He can't get up the hill, he said. James sighed and went off. It was already dark when James arrived at the hill and found it a great joke. "What's wrong, Thomas? Can't handle a few trucks?" he teased. "Shut up, James," he burst out. "The rain can cause trouble in a hill. You'd already know by experience." James said nothing and just coupled up to him and pushed him up the hill and into the station. Next morning, the rain was stronger than it had ever been before. James couldn't help but smile, though. "I'll show that Thomas how to deal with rain," he said to himself. He quickly arranged his train and waited impatiently for the guard to blow his whistle. At last he did. James quickly started off, but he found out he couldn't grip the rails properly. His wheels spun and spun, but he couldn't move the heavy train. His driver went to call for help, but James wasn't happy when he found out who the relief engine was. Thomas arrived with a huge grin on his face. "Ha ha ha! Yes, you did show me how to deal with rain," he laughed. "Oh, shut up," said James. "Hurry up and let's get this over with." All right, said Thomas, and he quickly coupled up to James. Their drivers and firemen put sand on the rails and opened the engine's regulators. Soon they started to pull. Their wheels slipped and they tugged and slipped with all their might. And wheel turn after wheel turn after wheel turn, they finally started to get a grip on the rails. Come on, we're moving, said Thomas. "Oh, come along, said James. And at last they managed to get the heavy train moving. After they got out of the harbor and reached the station, Thomas and James didn't cross paths for the rest of the day. But that night at the sheds, all Thomas and Percy could talk about was friction and grip. Poor James, all he could do was stand silently as the engines mocked him about his harbor slip.
I see. I shall have to get Donald and Douglas on that as well, I guess. Honestly, those two will be worked to their wits' end with all these horrendous snowdrifts. Unfortunately, no one on the island can work together like they do, like bread and butter. Alright. No sir, Donald's safety valve burst, pushing that lift on Gordon's Hill. I snapped my axle over the Cloven's Gate. We're going to need some replacement, sir. Of course, Diesel? Yes, take these two to the works. We shall have to find some replacements for clearing the drifts. Yes, I could do some of this, sir. Oh, sure. But you will need a big, strong engine to shut the heavy drifts. You can still go, obviously, but I mean, I understand, sir. What about him? Perfect. I simply won't do it. It's not civilized for an express engine such as myself to do a simple snow plowing job. If it wasn't for these jobs which you call uncivilized, trains like the Express would be able to run at Christmas time. please? Just this once. Fine, but who is my other agent? Come on, Gordon, let's be fun, just like the old days. The old days were not fun. You whistling at me loud as a bomb, calling me fat and lazy, simply disgraceful. But I suppose I am already committed. I do wish these blasted males had a grit spread on them, like roads. Whoa! Help! Yep. Uh-huh. Christ! That huge snowdrift at Marin that I had to help you with, just wow. You know, today was fun, Thomas. There's a runaway coming in. Passengers on board. There's a very large snowdrift 30 meters east of here. Clear it, or we might have a serious accident. One last puff. Good job, Thomas. Same to you. Get out of here! There's not enough time! I've got to stop it! Thank you, guys. Don't mention it. I am very proud of you two. Putting your differences aside to stop a serious accident. I shall reward Thomas with a new refurbishment for Annie and Clarabelle, and a nice wash down and a new coat of paint for Gordon. Thanks, Thomas. Oh, don't mention it. As long as we're friends, that's all that matters.
A day out with Mavis. Early one morning, Sir Topham Hatt came to see Thomas, Percy, Toby, and Mavis. He had exciting news.
I'm sure the four of you remember when the thin clergyman visited our railway a few months ago.
Oh, yes, peeped Percy. I remember he snapped a picture of me as I rode down the rails at night. I believe that was the same night that I tricked Thomas into thinking that I was a ghost. Thomas was annoyed. Well, I remember him taking a picture of a certain green caterpillar with red stripes after he got done crawling out of the hay. Sir Topham Hatt quickly continued his announcement before the two could start arguing.
Well, he decided to write his next book about the Farquhar branch line.
The engines cheered.
However, that's not all. In order to help advertise the book, I have decided to hold a tour of the branch line in the coming weeks. Thomas, Percy, and Toby, you shall run the tours.
The three engines smiled as Sir Topham Hatt walked away. However, Mavis felt left out. I wish I could be part of the tours, she sighed. You can't. You're a quarry diesel. You aren't meant to pull coaches, said Thomas. Toby and Percy were both annoyed.
Don't worry, Mavis. I'm sure it's just that having 4 engines run a tour would make it too crowded, comforted Toby. However, Mavis still felt left out. Soon the day of the tour arrived, and the 3 engines were all ready at Knapford. Thomas pulling Annie and Clarabelle, Toby pulling Henrietta, and Percy pulling 2 spare coaches. Thomas had been chosen to lead the tour, so he was going to pull the first train of the day. He puffed out of the station, proudly and triumphantly. However, as he continued down the line, he felt as if his train was getting heavier and heavier. He rolled weakly into the next station before coming to a complete halt. The driver and fireman tried to investigate to see what was wrong, but found nothing. Well, Thomas, we can't find what the issue is. But what we do know is that you're in no condition to pull any kind of train. We'd better phone Sir Topham Hatt. Hello? What's that? Thomas is unable to pull his coaches? This is quite a predicament.
Well, I'll see what I can do. Already, Sir Topham Hatt was forming a plan. Mavis sighed to herself as she shunted the trucks into place at the quarry. She was thinking of all the fun the others would be having while giving their tours. Just then, the foreman ran up to her. "Leave those trucks here, Mavis. I got a call from Sir Topham Hatt. He wants you to head to Dryaw." "I wonder what for?" thought Mavis as she headed off. Back at Knapford, Percy was beginning to worry. Thomas hadn't made it back. "You don't think he got into an accident, do you?" "Don't worry, Percy. I'm sure Thomas is fine." Just then, Thomas came into view, and the two engines stopped being worried and instead began laughing. Thomas had made it back to the station, but he wasn't under his own power. Instead, he and his coaches were being pushed by Mavis. He was most annoyed. He grumbled about it for the rest of the day. He didn't like it one bit. Whenever the two ran into another engine, they were quick to tease Thomas about his predicament. Even Bertie couldn't help but laugh when he saw him. Thomas was relieved when the tours were finally over. Just as he was about to be shunted back to the sheds, a boy on the platform called out, "Hey, look! There's Thomas!" "That's not Thomas. He's being pushed by a diesel." "It's probably a dummy model," replied another. "It's certainly a dummy, all right," chuckled Percy. "Well, Mavis, you may not have been able to pull coaches, but you certainly can push them. Even when there's a heavy tank engine at the front," added Percy. Mavis chuckled. Thomas chose not to say a thing and pretended to be asleep. He was about to be in for a shock when he woke up. The next morning, when Sir Topham Hatt brought a copy of the book to show the engines, Thomas was absolutely speechless. There on the front cover was Mavis.
Well, what do you know? Finally, my chance to shine. No mic to ruin my dreams of having a video dedicated to me. Frank, this video isn't focused on you. What? All this time, I was hoping to have a video all to myself. Who is the video dedicated to? Me. Move over, Frank, and you'll get your turn later. This is unfair. You'll hear from my lawyer, depending if someone takes my case. Thomas was introduced in Wind Railway in 1992 as a pre-production model, but wasn't released until 1993. Then, later that year, he got a small update. Then, next few years, changes were made, with the wheels becoming thicker and the funnel shrinking. Then, in 1999, Thomas was designed with plastic smell box and funnel. Then, 2002, the characters were updated. Finally, in 2004, boiler stripes were added to the top of the model, which weren't present in the original models. The model stayed the same for the next 8 years. With small changes, then in 2012, Mattel bought the brand. In 2013, the models got a CGI makeover with CGI face and crisper details that weren't seen on the other models. I think that all three models are wonderful representations of Thomas and are amazing to collect. I think that the 2004 and Mattel ones are the best ones to collect because they have the accurate boiler bands on top. Thomas is not the only useful engine. My driver told me so. I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Now, excuse me while I'll take care of Frank.
The engines on the Fat Controllers Railway were waiting at Knapford Station. There was much excitement. The first of the summer rail tours was due to arrive at any minute. Thomas was excited. "I can't wait to meet the visiting engine," he said. Just then, the engines heard an unfamiliar whistle. The visiting train glided into the station. Its engine was Princess Elizabeth. She looked very big and very strong. The Fat Controller spoke. "Welcome to the island of Sodor," he said. "We're glad to have you here with us." "Thank you, sir," said Princess Elizabeth daintily. "The pleasure is all mine." Thomas had been asked to arrange Princess Elizabeth's coaches. He'd been waiting for a chance to introduce himself. "Hello," he said. "I'm Thomas." "Take my coaches away, thank you," Princess Elizabeth sniffed. Thomas was taken aback. "I will, but I wanted to say hello first. I haven't time for idle chat with small engines like you," Princess Elizabeth said. "I am an important engine, named after royalty. Now, I shan't ask again. Take my coaches." Thomas became cross. "Do you always talk to engines like that?" he muttered. "Only to diminutive, unimportant, undistinguished tank engines that go out of their way to get into mine," Princess Elizabeth chuffed. Thomas huffed away, feeling deeply insulted. He was still fuming when he pulled Annie and Clarabelle. The coaches twittered to each other. "Thomas is cross. Oh, what shall we do? Oh, what shall we do when Thomas is cross?" "That stupid old witch," Thomas grumbled that night in the sheds. "Who does she think she is, calling me unimportant?" "That horrid engine called me names too," said Percy. "She said I was nothing more than a little green nuisance." "We're both important," said Thomas. "Everyone knows that, even the Fat Controller." "Important?" grunted Gordon. "You two can't be as important as me." "Or me," put in James. "Honestly, Thomas, I thought you'd know your place in the world by now." "Figured you'd say that," Thomas groaned. "That's enough," said Edward. "There's no need to make it worse." Gordon and James sniggered quietly to themselves. As the engines fell asleep one by one, Thomas thought of how he could pay Princess Elizabeth out. The next morning, the Fat Controller was giving out jobs to his engines. He turned to Thomas. "Thomas," he said, "I need you to pull a goods train to Crosby Station." "Yes, sir," said Thomas. Thomas made his way to the station. He could see a line of trucks waiting for him. He also saw Princess Elizabeth resting in the sheds. Then Thomas had a naughty idea. He went up to where Princess Elizabeth was resting. "Excuse me," said Thomas. Princess Elizabeth glared at Thomas. "What do you want?" she sniffed. "Oh," said Thomas, "I was going to tell you that a very important train needs to go up the line. I was hoping you'd be interested in taking it. But then again, an important train?" Princess Elizabeth perked up. "Why, that's just the job for me." "Splendid," said Thomas. "It's waiting for you at platform 3.
Take that, buddy!
How did the line get abandoned anyway, Edward?
I'm not sure. Nobody seems to remember why the line was shut down. It just felt out of nowhere 20 years ago.
Well, hopefully this job is worth it if it means I couldn't take the Flying Kipper tonight.
Either way, I suggest you take care on that old line, Henry.
Why?
Well, there's a legend on that line that Whenever an owl hoots, a mist rolls in. And when the mist's about, there's a ghost about too.
Huh. Oh, please, Edward. What makes you think that legend's true?
I've heard stories from others who traveled along that line, seeing things, although I don't know what. Just do be careful, Henry.
Huh. Stupid bird.
Morning, Percy. What's the matter? Harold was supposed to arrive with a package from the mainland an hour ago. Why don't they just send it by rail? Well, look on the bright side, Percy. This only shows how useful we are. Speak of the devil. Tally-ho, chaps. Sorry for the delay. There were some strong winds on my way here. Have to go now. Cheerio, Percy. See you later.
Well, that's our show. We hope you enjoyed it. In fact, we hope you enjoyed it so much that you'll consider subscribing if you haven't already. And if you are subscribed, please consider recommending to your friends because we greatly appreciate the support.
Thank you for stopping by. We hope to see you again.